So, tell me your name, your age, and tell me your relationship to the word old.
Ooh. My name is Yvette Foy. I'm 53 years old. I'm 53 years young. 53 years young. Old is a weird word for me. I don't know. It's I've never considered myself older than I was last year, in which my dad would say, consider the alternative, be happy that you're getting older. But the word old brings with it so many different connotations of inability, not able to do what you used to do. And I guess in some respects that would be correct, but I don't know. I don't like the way I don't like the way that people characterize the word old.
Yeah.
So
You're a writer. Can you talk to us about ageism, whether in your everyday life or in your workforce?
Yeah. I guess as a writer, I learned early on not to do things that would age me, because people would automatically, put you in a certain category, or think, oh, I'm not really thinking about the experience that this person brings to the table, but I'm thinking about like how old they are. So if I put my experience forward and I put the things that I've accomplished, or the places that I've been and the things that I've done and the knowledge that I've learned, the wisdom I've gained from doing those things, if I push that forward rather than pushing forward my age and how old I am or how young I am, then I find that it's received better.
Don't you think, like in writing, the older you are, the more you can write?
Absolutely.
Can you talk to me about
Absolutely. I think that as a writer, the more you do it, the better you become. The more you learn how to take what you've learned and apply it to your writing, to the characters, to the situations. I think it only makes you a better writer the more seasoned you are. But we live in a very ageist and sexist society. And so having the power to own your story and to say, for the last 30 years I've been acquiring and amassing experiences and knowledge that make me far surpass my counterparts who are 25, who are 35, allows me to be able to own that and to bring it to the table as an attribute versus a detriment. And still there are those who exist who would try to hold it against you.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
nuts. What is one of the biggest challenges you've faced in your life?
Ooh, that's a broad topic. in
love,
just in love and death. I would say death is one of the biggest challenges I've faced. Death of loved ones, death of my parents, death of relationships. Yeah.
And how do you rise above that? How do you heal yourself?
Yeah. Like to be able to move on, to be able to move forward. I think that time plays a big part in that for me, and learning to accept things as they unfold. The inevitability of death, the inevitability of things not always lasting, because we live in mortal bodies. We live in, flesh that eventually decays. Not all things last. And so it's kind of accepting the fact that there were moments and memories created that I can always cherish and always go back to, and that there's a time and a season for what's happening now, what is to come, and being able to stay in the moment and appreciate it, because I think going through those times made me recognize that life is precious and life is can be incredibly short, so to try to cherish as many moments as I can. Yeah.
And what about as a woman?
Yeah.
What are some of the some big challenge that you had to face, whether again it's in the workplace, in family, in society? Always thinking in my mind, because we'll get to that question, like the kind of advice that you would give like your younger self, that's what I'm trying to get to, like for people to see personal challenges and how they dealt with it, and how perhaps they should have, would have dealt with it differently to help, yourself.
I think for a woman, the most important thing is to understand that you do have a voice and to use your voice, because if you don't use your voice, it's easy for you to get drowned out. It's easy for others to speak up, and then you are the person who's left with just kind of the decisions that are made, rather than being part of the decision-making process. If you use your voice, then you're able to be a part of that process. I remember when my mom got sick, and I was rather young. I was 25, and I'm the youngest of 5 children. I have 4 older siblings. I remember things were happening so fast, and I was my mother's primary caregiver, but I didn't have much say-so in the process and in the decisions that were being made. Well, fast forward to, my father getting sick 14, 15 years later, and I found myself in the same role. Things were very different because I knew how to speak up. I knew my needs and my wants. I knew how to deal with an aging parent, a terminally ill parent, and still be able to take care of my mental health, because I had been through it already. And those are things that I think are important as a woman, for us to speak up, for us to say, actually, I would like to be in on this decision making. Actually, I'm the one who is with this person, 18 hours of the day. And so this is what I would prefer to take place rather than X, Y, and Z.
So how do you find your voice? I mean, it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to actually go get there.
Yeah. It's a process, Harry. It's a process. It's sitting with yourself after you make decisions. My mom used to say, but at the end of the day, who are you when you look in the mirror? Who is the person staring back at you? Is it someone you can be proud of? Is it someone who you would want to root for? Is it a friend that you would want to be? And I think that finding my voice was saying, who is it that I want to be in the world? Who is it that when someone says Yvette Foy, what feeling comes to mind? What images come to mind? Do they laugh and chuckle remembering, a time that, like, I don't know, we went zip lining, or, we went skinny dipping, in the river, whatever it is. The time that I helped them, the time that I offered my couch for them to sleep on so that they could get a leg up and, go into LA. Did they come to my home to have a meal? What is it that I'm leaving in the world? What am I giving to the world? And that's how I began to figure out, like, who I am. And I think part of that was learning what to speak up for and what to quietly, let pass me by.
how does sex and relationships change as you grow older? Actually, let's go with sex.
Yeah,
How does sex change as you grow older?
I think for me, it is being able to use my voice, kind of like what we talked about a little bit before. It's knowing what I like, what I don't like, or if something new is occurring, being able to say, I'm not so sure about that. Being able to vocalize what works and what doesn't work, being in tune and in touch with my body much more than I was when I was 20 years old. There were lots of things that I didn't know when I was 20. Even when I was 30, Harry, I want to say I was probably 32 before I had a clitoral orgasm. And that was like shocking for me. I was like, oh, I thought I was doing this right. Oh, I thought that this was like all the pleasure that there was. And then all of a sudden, woo, and then, to find out there were more pleasure points on my body. And I think you become, well, I'm not going to say you, but I know I have become more accepting of pleasure and exploration and oh, why not? I mean, it's okay. It's here. Let's go for it. So, yeah, I've found sex to be much more enjoyable. Definitely know what I don't like. Definitely no, that's not working for me. And also, yeah, so more vocal, being able to say, hey, can we try something different? This doesn't work. Or, this really works. Can we get more of that, please?
Do you remember how you got into that at 32?
It was total happenstance. It was
were you by yourself or was it with a partner?
No. It was class participation. It was a solo thing. How frank can we be? What would you like?
Frank.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was. I was receiving oral sex. And I was just kind of a weird. I was like, this is. You're doing something different. There was something different. That wasn't my first time, but it was like, whoa, something different is happening. And then all of a sudden, explosion. And, I just was like, what was that? And then I spent a great amount of time trying to duplicate that. What was that? How did you do that? Can I do that myself? Can I figure out how I can do that myself?
Did you figure that out?
I figured that out.
By yourself? Like you could do it by yourself?
I could figure that out. Which I don't think I understood masturbation until that point. But then I understood it greatly after that point because I wasn't sure what people were trying to achieve with masturbation. When I think about a man masturbating, I think it's very obvious. But when I think about female masturbation, I'm just kind of like, what was the goal? But then once the goal happened, I was like, how do we reverse engineer this? How do we take this back and make this happen again? So yeah, which is,
I'm shaking.
It's who hid this from me and how do we figure this out again?
That's the stuff that I want to know because, yes, I'm gay, but I've had a straight life until I was 22.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't understand this. I don't have that.
Right.
I don't know. There's a clit.
Right.
But why is it there?
Right.
There's a hole.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What
simple stuff.
Simple stuff.
At 16,
exactly.
15, that you're like, what is going on?
Which is, to me, a big disadvantage for younger couples because rarely are we informed about our bodies, let alone being able to communicate to our partner, which is why my lesbian friends are always like, we're winning, we already know what we have, and I'm like, okay, all right, no problem, I get it, but if I know how to do it, I should be able to communicate it, to my partner.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we're at a loss, for knowing.
But like you also said, it took you till 32 to
Right.
even know
Right.
that there was a possible outcome
Correct.
with your body, and that's your body.
Correct.
So what's your advice to young, like 12-year-old girls or 15-year-old girls, or like
Read, learn, ask questions. Like I was afraid to talk about it. I was intimidated. I went to Catholic school. It wasn't something that like you really discussed in the late 80s. And it wasn't until I want to say after college, like in the military, that I had frank discussions with friends. It wasn't until, I had a friend who said to me, Yvette, the only way I can have an orgasm is through oral sex. That made me kind of be like, huh. And then like, let me read about this. Let me figure out why she said that, because even if I was uncomfortable discussing it any further with her, I have always been a knowledge seeker. So reading about it, there's a book by Hilda Hutcherson that I found, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" Like,
what is the name of it? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay, we'll find. We'll put it in there.
Okay.
Wow.
She's amazing. Like, and she was the first Black MD who ever, like, I had gone to a women's seminar, and her class in that particular women's retreat was always overbooked, always sold out. So that should tell you, like, people want to know, like, especially like Black women who usually don't discuss it want to know, like, what. And so I would like to encourage women in their teens, in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s. How about there are women out there who I know are 53 and have never had an orgasm? I know it's incredibly like painful to think about that, but yeah.
And there's that dangerous. Oh, let me just reset. There's this danger of I don't know, with menopause or whether you're with someone for a long time and you stop having sex, and all of a sudden you feel like you don't need sex, and then you go through years of,
I haven't been through that, Harry.
Yeah. No, let's not talk about that. I just realized that it doesn't relate to you.
No, but also I don't want to ever be that person, and so I think that I will always actively seek out but sex makes me feel alive. It makes me feel connected to my body and present. And so it's like I don't ever want to not have some sort of pleasure, sexual pleasure in my life, whether it's self-pleasure, whether it's with another being, I guess I should say human being, huh? Another human being? Aliens not allowed. But yeah, it doesn't relate to me now, but I hope that I am able to experience intimacy on many levels, even as I age.
Monogamy or polyamorous relationships or open relationship, what are your views?
I am monogamous. I have only engaged in monogamy. I like to think that I'm very open-minded. I also think that I don't like sharing. But I am an ever-evolving human being. And so I don't want to say never, but what I would like to say is I enjoy the intimacy of monogamy, and so I also enjoy open and honest communication. So I would like to go into a relationship, or I have in the past gone into relationships where monogamy was understood and accepted and agreed to, and it's worked out. So, yeah.
Is there a difference for you, and I can't really use the words, but I'll use them and I'll bleep them out actually. Is there a difference between climax and orgasm? And maybe just say the C word or the O word.
But not the bad C word. I don't know the difference. If there is a difference, I can say that there are peaks and there are valleys, and some peaks are higher than others. But I think that on a scale, like at any given time, I can climax and still, have orgasms that are varying on the scale. I don't differentiate between the two words, but I mean, maybe you just gave me something to go look up. I don't know.
No, I just want to see what your
okay, what my thoughts are.
Yeah, what your thoughts
are.
1 second.
Okay.
Do you give a fuck about what people think of you?
Yes and no. My inclination is to say no. But I don't think that's totally truthful in certain settings. I think that being 53 gives me the wisdom to discern when to say things and when not to say things. I am very outspoken. I always have been. But I do recognize that, I recognize that there are certain times and places where it is important to maintain a certain decorum, and I would say workplace related. Okay. I have stood up in the middle of a football game and yelled at a referee. I have peed on the side of the road when I couldn't hold it anymore. There are certain, and I don't care. Like, there are things that as a person I want to express and I want to do, and putting me first, it's taken a long time to learn how to put me first, which is something I think we discussed like about Libras, right? So I'm a giver, and I've given like a lot of my life thus far to others, but learning how to give to me comes with a certain I don't give a fuck about what someone else is thinking at this moment. This is what I want to say. This is what I want to do. And your opinion of me is not relevant, If I'm in a position where I might be talking to my boss and I have to work with that person for another 3 months, I may cater and curtail what I have to say, to the point of making sure that I'm respectful, which I think that's a business decision for me, right? But if it doesn't have to do with business, I have marched for apartheid. I have marched for women's rights. I have marched for Black Lives Matter. The things that are important to me are important to me, and I really don't give a fuck what other people think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you, what advice would you give the 18-year-old Yvette?
Ooh. The advice I would give 18-year-old Yvette is, you are so much more amazing than you think that you are. like the life obstacles that you're gonna face are going to they're gonna seem to be so big sometimes that like you're going to think that you won't be able to break through them, to climb over them, but you have so much fortitude and so much strength that you're going to get through it all. And all you have to do is continue to believe in yourself. I don't know, I feel like I was so scatterbrained when I was 18. Like, you know, like, I don't get life, and I don't get this, and how come I don't think like other people, and how come I don't, you know, they know what they want to be, they know what they want to do. And I felt like I was a misfit, you know. I felt like you have all these different skills and these different things you do and you like, but you know, everyone's trying to put you in a box and pigeonhole you and say, you know, smart people do this, and then, you know, they go to do this, and you should go to law school and you should do this, and none of it I was interested in. So I always felt like I don't know what I want to do, and I didn't know many people around me who didn't know what they wanted to do. So I felt like an oddball a lot. Yeah. Okay.
Tell me. You remember what?
I remember the day that my friend explained to me that she had had a triple orgasm. And I was like, what's that? Right? Like, I couldn't even comprehend. And she was like, it's a clitoral orgasm, a vaginal orgasm, and an anal orgasm. And I was like, what? And I was like, how did you have an anal orgasm? And she was like, you don't think gay men are just like doing it to be doing it, do you? Like, there's an orgasm to be had there. Like, that's why they're doing it. And I was like, oh, you know, so then I was like in search of the triple. I was like, what is happening? I just think that there's so much that we don't know about our bodies that we feel liberated to learn. You know, the more that we age, we feel freer. We feel there's that, I don't give a fuck, you know, what you think about me.
Freer from what?
Freer from judgment. I think a lot of it's judgment. What is someone gonna think if they know that I'm asking about anal orgasms? What is someone gonna think if they think that I'm having anal sex, you know? And I think that you get to a point where you're like, I don't care. I don't care what they think. Like, what I do in my bedroom is my business. What I do in my spare time is my business, you know? And you stop caring whether or not people are going to judge you for what you do, what you say, because I feel like people are gonna judge you anyway. If they're judgy people, they're gonna judge you. And then you just like stop caring. I choose what I wanna share and what I don't wanna share. Yeah. And I think that's my power, like how I retain my power.
As a gay man, again, the kind of pleasure that you can get from the asshole,
right.
To then at some point, well, first you're dealing with, you know, internalized homophobia, like right. all that stuff, like coming to terms with being gay, coming out.
Exactly.
But like after so many years, right. you're like, oh my God, like a straight man could have that same experience, because once you start thinking that, like, just because you're taking out the ass doesn't make you gay.
Right. Oh, we've had these discussions. We have, and I think I have a few friends who are quite open-minded, you know, about like, oh, okay, so there's an orgasm to be had. I'll take it. I want that one. You know, I want that one too. Male friends, you know, who are straight men who enjoy having sex with women, who are attracted to women, but who are like, oh, wait a minute. I want to know what's going on here. I want some of that too. Exactly. You know, it's pleasure. It's about, I think, being open to the experience of pleasure.
What about shame? You said judgment.
Oh,
what about
God. I mean, Brene Brown talks about shame. I learned a lot. I think that coming from a very traditional Catholic upbringing, coming from a Christian home, my therapist is a gay male who went to seminary school, so he and I have had lots of open and in-depth conversations about what it is like to be a sexual being, what it is like to enjoy being a sexual being, and reconciling that with having a spiritual life, identifying as a Christian, understanding that God isn't going to strike me down because I enjoy sex. Those are things that I've come to learn and to experience and own as I've gotten older. And I think it only makes me a better person. You can't live wholeheartedly when you walk in shame. You can't experience joy when you're constantly living with shame, bearing down on you. And so, I choose not to.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Glad we came into this classroom.
Yes.
What did I want to say about that? Shame. If we do some locker room talk.
Okay.
Female equivalent.
Okay.
What would you what's your favorite position or in sex?
Let's see. What do I have?
Or something that you love, that you want the world to know, oh my God, you guys, you really need to try this.
Harry, it's a lot. It's Okay. So let's see, how do I put this? I have been blessed to be able to experience both vaginal orgasms, female ejaculation, clitoral orgasms, anal orgasms. There isn't much that my body cannot do. But understanding that being in the missionary position or having vaginal sex doggy style, but clitoral stimulation at the same time is absolutely necessary. It's mind-blowing. It's I didn't realize if I would encourage anyone to, it's a must-have. It's being able to have the bonus of, oh my gosh, there's something going on right here for me. I feel like your partner would get even more enjoyment out of it, because if you're in the doggy style position and he does a reach around, and then so you get the clitoral stimulation and the vaginal stimulation at the same time, it's just it's a happy place. I that's what I want for everyone.
As gay men, we're so envious.
Wow. Because you don't have an extra?
Yeah,
okay. All right, I guess so. But you can pee anywhere. We cannot.
We don't have our period.
No! Even exchange. More so, I didn't even think about that because I'm almost, I'm perimenopausal and pretty much I don't see a period hardly ever. So.
Can you talk to?
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about menopause and menopause and what does that,
Yeah. Perimenopause is an interesting point that women don't usually talk about. It's the it's kind of a taboo, I realize, and I just found a whole podcast about it that I'll tell you. I'll make sure you get it so you can post it for women, but it's something like nobody talks about unless they're having hot flashes and they feel like they want to share. For me, it was, I'm not doing this. Like, I have to work. I have to do things. Like, how do I not have these hot flashes? How do I not engage in this? So I was talking to a friend and she recommended a product and she said, oh, this is over the counter and it helped a lot. I started taking it and it's amazing. So I rarely get a hot flash. Every once in a while, I'll feel like, is anybody else out in here? You know, but your body is going through so many changes. You want to know what's going on. You're a little bit intimidated by it because you think you know your body. And I've found that the sex is absolutely mind-blowing, like, since I've been in perimenopause. And then, you know, people will try to scare you and say, oh my gosh, but then all of a sudden, like, you're not going to be able to lubricate anymore. And then I'm like, but aren't there things like, there's lube? Like, isn't there lube? Like, how do you not? I'm the most solution-oriented person I know. I'm like, okay, but if this doesn't work, then we're going to try this, right? Like, we're going to figure it out. We're going to find a way. And I guess I'm just not the person who gives up easily because the sex has been so good and so amazing. I'm just like, wow, I just want to find out more, like, what's going on. Let's do it. My body is like, hey, we're in it. Let's go. There's not the fear of I would say there's not the fear of getting pregnant because, like, I'm on an IUD and I'm in a monogamous relationship. But before I was, like, I used condoms. And I just think that, like, there's where there's a will, there's a way. Why not apply it to sex? Why not apply it to the symptoms of perimenopause? There's so much out here, Harry. If we can put a rover on Mars, right? The saying used to be, if we could put a man on the moon, okay? But now, if we can put a rover on Mars, if we can send Elon Musk into space, you know, if Donald Trump can be president, like, can I not find lube? Like, can I not, like, figure out, like, frozen shoulder? Can I not stop a hot flash? Come on, there has to be a way. Has to be a way.
I love it. So, you recently came out from a 3-year relationship with a 20-something.
Yeah, he was 27. Yeah, 27-year-old man.
When you broke up?
Yes.
27.
Yes.
So 24.
When we began. Harry, your math is impeccable. Yes.
Talk to me about the difference, the sex. How different is sex with a 24-year-old than somebody, you know, in their 40s or 50s? Is there any difference?
I think that men are always trying to please. Like, I think that they come out the gate like, let me give this my best shot. So there's definitely that. And with him being younger, I would say things to him like, this is like pretty amazing sex, you know, like, this is probably the best sex I've ever had. Like, and not realizing it had to do with him, but it also had to do with me, you know, being in touch with my body, knowing what I liked, you know, like, he would say, really? Like, seriously? Like, there was the insecurity or the, you know, a little bit intimidation, whereas like a 40-something man, he's like, well, of course it is, you know, it's just a different, you know, it's the braggadociousness, you know, of the aging. That's like one of the main differences I've found. But I find that, like, if a man really likes you, he's really into you, you know, he's trying to please you, he wants to please you, and if he doesn't want to please you, those relationships tend to not last for me, you know.
What about
Okay.
What about size? Does size matter to you?
Oh, Harry, let us see. How do we? I am not. Some women call it being a size whore. I think. I don't
We
know.
call it size queen.
Okay, size queen, right? So, in the spirit of oversharing, I have what is considered to be a relatively short vaginal vault. So, uncomfortable sex for me is not like I have been in certain situations where it was like I felt like I was going to black out. Like it was like, this is not comfortable. This is not what I would consider pleasurable. And it's not something that I would seek, to do again. I like a gentleman who has a nice amount of inches. I like it. I like to feel what's going on. I like to feel like we're connected, feel like you're filling up the space. Yes. And that's what, yeah. But I'm not a if you don't have 12 inches, you can just move on over to the side. It's not me. And if it's for some women, or men or whoever, like better, more power to you. It's just not me. I like pleasure. And I think that there's a lot more to rhythm and technique. And, I've been with men who are gigantic and have no rhythm. And so I'm constantly trying to figure out what's going on I think that being compatible is important. And for me, it doesn't have to be 12 inches. 7 or 8 are just fine.
Yeah, worst sex for me has been with really gigantic.
Right.
Like they just don't. They're like, yeah,
it's here.
He's like here.
They feel like they don't have to work for it. They feel like I'm coming to the table. This is it, and it's like, but that's not how my body works. So come on, yeah. That's crazy. I was in shock one time. Are you taping?
Mm-hmm.
I remember. I literally was in shock. I was just like, who does this? Where were you born? Do you not know that this is not normal? This is what is happening? I felt like I might have been in a porn video,
2 Nigerians for me.
Oh.
But it was insane, 13 inches.
Yeah.
But real 13 inches, not
pretend.
Not pretend.
Not a grower.
No, but you know how people say, "Oh yeah, I'm 9 inches,"
Yes.
and then you're sitting
know. It's like you're 5'7", huh? But you're really 5'5". No, you're not. Yes, no, I get it. This guy, this was in the military, and I don't know where he was from, but I just remember being very glad that it was partially lit in the room, because I think that I would still have nightmares to this day. But I was just in shock. I literally was in shock. And I think that he knew that I was in shock. I'm sure that that's the common response that they get. So I'm just glad.
Yeah, this guy was talking about, straight guy with a humongous dick was talking about how he had a hard time finding and keeping a girlfriend.
Oh.
I
feel sad for him.
I know.
But now I do kind of want to meet him, Mary. He isn't braggadocious, I feel like we could mold him, we could work some out. I'm just saying, but yeah. Oh, that's sad though, right? Sad. I know. But I do kind of want to know where he is right now. No. I also,
you are a size queen.
What? I am not. No, but it's just who doesn't want to a guy who feels like, oh no, I can't have a girlfriend. I need a girlfriend.
The emotional aspect.
Yes, the emotional aspect of it. Who is looking for compatibility and companionship. Yeah. And I will say this. I also feel like they don't have to they feel like there's nothing else they have to do. Like they're not open to oral sex. They're not open to foreplay or, you know, manual stimulation. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. Like most women, foreplay is like the precursor, and it gets us riled up, and it's what allows us to be able to have natural lubrication, you know? So I think a lot of men come to the table, a lot of men who are 12 inches, you know, 10 inches, 11 inches, whatever, they come to the table thinking, oh, well, I bat 360. I literally had a guy tell me that one time. Oh, I bat 360. I don't have to do anything else. And I was like, oh, good. I'm out. Like, we never had sex. So, yeah.
Sorry, let me just... What's the secret to a happy life?
Inner peace, being proud of yourself, knowing your worth, surrounding yourself with people who spread joy and spread light, people who want the best for you, and there's an exchange. I call it love reciprocity. You know, they want to see you thrive. They care about you. You care about them. You want to see them thrive. When you're hurt, they hold you. They love you. And you give them the same in return.